definitely just a whole different experience of FPV.
Not bad at all.
Not bad.
Hey guys, Steve from Flite Brothers here, and today we're checking out the all-new Eachine VR007 all-in-one FPV goggle system. Now this is like a lot of those box goggle systems out there. It has a included 4:3 aspect ratio screen, which is at that 480x272 resolution. And it is included right here in the front of the box, a completely enclosed system. And along with the screen is a 40-channel receiver, which is controlled by these 3 buttons on the side. The first button for channel, the second button for band, and the third button allows you to get into a menu system where you can change brightness, contrast, and saturation settings. The goggles are held onto your head with a nice 3-strap system. When you're wearing them, there's one strap across the top that keeps them from sliding down too far, and the straps across both sides. And all 3 straps are fully adjustable at a pretty extreme amount, which is fantastic if you have young kids who like to ride along on FPV. So here's an example of my 3-year-old son wearing these goggles. And you can see that they fit him really nicely. He doesn't have to hold them onto his face or anything like that like he does with my Fat Sharks or Quantums. So it really is nice for him to use because they're comfortable for him. So if you have young kids who fly or who like to ride along on FPV flights, then they're a great option to have for that. Also included is a 3.7 volt 1600 milliamp battery. The battery is a self-contained unit with a USB port that can charge the battery for you, and there's an LED on the top that gives you an indication of when it's charging and when it's fully charged. So using a standard micro USB cable, which is included by the way, you can plug this into any USB outlet and you can charge this battery. You can charge it through the standard barrel connector lead as well. Just keep in mind the goggles can only handle a 1-cell around 4-volt input, so if you're going to use a different battery, don't use a typical 2-cell goggle battery because you're likely to overload and damage your goggles using that. But the battery included gives you a couple hours of flight time, so as long as you keep it charged up before you go out, you're going to have a fine time using just the single included battery. And the exact battery is available on its own as well through Banggood. The receiver is a 40-channel receiver, and it comes with a standard whip antenna, which, to be honest, with just the whip antenna, testing out these goggles, we were able to get excellent reception. I get the feeling that the receiver is a fairly sensitive receiver that's picking up a really great signal from our aircraft. At a recent race with our multi-GB chapter, it was a fairly large field, and anyone that we put these on had no trouble getting a solid reception all the way around the track. That being said, we of course would recommend that you look into upgrading the antenna to something more appropriate for your style of flight, depending on what you're doing, but most commonly for FPV racing and things like that, you're going to be looking for an upgraded CP antenna, a cloverleaf or a pagoda or something along those lines. So keep that in mind. And one thing to keep in mind as well, if you're looking for a replacement antenna, is that this is an RP-SMA antenna. So the receptor, the receiver, is inside the antenna and the pin is on the goggles themselves. So make sure you get the proper antenna, or at least an adapter, so that you can use whatever antenna that you purchase. So overall, the flying experience with these goggles is pretty acceptable. For $45 for this entire unit, you're getting a acceptable flying experience. So if you're on a budget and you're really looking to get into FPV without spending a ton of money on some of those big name goggles, for $45, you've got a great option here. A sensitive, fully full channel receiver, a screen that's perfectly acceptable visually, although I would prefer a slightly higher resolution, you're still able to fly comfortably with these. The other thing that these would be great for is a ride-along goggles. At Flite Brothers, we really encourage you to be an ambassador for the hobby, and be a positive influence on anyone who's looking to get into FPV. And one of the greatest ways to do that is to always have a way to give somebody that experience if they come along while you're flying. So having these for $45 ready to go is a great option out there. So consider the possibility of owning a pair of these just to have a ride-along goggles that you can throw in your backpack or something like that whenever you go out to fly, and share the experience with anyone who might come along. The one thing that I was a little disappointed with these goggles, it is a little tricky to wear these with glasses. So I do wear glasses, although I don't need them with FPV goggles because they're not a terribly strong prescription. But nonetheless, if I wanted to wear them, I put these goggles on my face. They do cover the glasses. There's very little light leak, if any at all, honestly. But it does kind of squish my glasses up against my head a little bit, which I'm not thrilled with. The other thing that's a little uncomfortable is the foam in the nose here. It kind of scooches up out of the way a little bit when you put them on, and then your nose rubs on the hard plastic frame of the goggles. So that's something where maybe a little extra piece of foam or a little time just kind of rounding that plastic off a little bit more might be beneficial. But of course everybody's face is different, so you can't expect one shape to really work perfectly for everybody. From everyone who's put these on that we've tested, no one's really had any major complaints about them being uncomfortable or not working. And the nice thick foam pad that's included, I'm sure, helps with that. The last thing that we would like to see change was maybe the location of the battery. On the strap itself, there is a little pouch for the battery to sit, which is great that it's there, but the problem is on the side of the goggle strap up against your head, it's a little uncomfortable and it's not the most pleasant positioning for the battery. If I had to recommend one major change to this, I would say a battery pouch on the back here with a little longer battery lead to connect all the way to the front of the goggles would be an excellent update to these goggles to make them a little more comfortable. It's not that it's really that bad, but it just would have been a nice feature as opposed to the side-mounted battery. All of that being said, again, I reiterate, these are a fantastic deal for just $45. And by the way, they're also really lightweight. They only weigh about 250 grams. Yeah, 2 sticks of butter. They only weigh about 250 grams by themselves, a little over 300 with the battery, and so wearing them doesn't really feel cumbersome and heavy like maybe some of the older versions of Quantums or the head plays might have felt. They really don't feel bad at all. They're comfortable, they're a nice weight, it doesn't feel like it's weighing your head down or anything like that. So again, at such a great deal, I highly recommend them for anyone who's getting trying to get into FPV for a budget and need a quick pair of goggles. If you want to upgrade a little bit, you could spend a little more money for the VR007 version that has built-in diversity. I think there's even a version with included DVR now too, which is a great feature to have. So you can look into those as well. Also for ride-along goggles, I'm going to reiterate that as well. For ride-along goggles, this is an excellent option to have and a cheap one that's not going to break the bank. So I think I've said all I need to say about these. And folks, I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, would you please go ahead and like, subscribe, and maybe even share our channel with your friends so we can keep bringing you these great reviews on these great products. And as always, we'll catch you next time.